workout number 12 of our 25-day December monthly movement challenge. Today's workout is going to be a pelvic stability workout. So we're going to be incorporating the various slings. So we have various myofascial slings that run diagonally across the front of the body, the back of the body, and looping kind of around our legs to help us stabilize the pelvis from the upper to the lower extremities. This movement is going to incorporate the anterior oblique sling, the posterior oblique sling, which helps to stabilize front and back, and then also the lateral sling, which is helping us to stabilize on just one leg. Doing these types of movements can help to decrease pelvic girdle discomfort that you may be feeling, such as standing and pivoting type movements that cause pain in the pelvis, particularly on the front or maybe a little bit towards one side on the back, because it helps to ensure that there's not too much movement happening at those joints, which is commonly a reason why you may be experiencing pelvic girdle pain during pregnancy and into the postpartum period. Today's workout has 3 movements. We have the Pallof press with rotation, which is going to be our anterior oblique sling movement. We have our lateral step up with row, and then we have our Copenhagen plank, which is going to be our lateral sling movement. So the first movement we have is the Pallof press with rotation. I'm going to start with the band attached around chest to hip level. I'm going to pull the band to the center of my chest. So from here, if I released tension in my body, I would rotate back to that point of attachment. So you should already feel like you're resisting a rotation. I'm going to exhale to push the band straight out. The further the hands are from my chest, the more I'm going to feel this pull. And then I'm going to exhale to rotate away. So coming back to center and then bringing that band back in. I'm going to exhale to push out, rotate away, coming back to center, and then back to the center of the chest. So there's 3 parts to this movement. I'm here, I'm pushing straight out, and then I'm rotating back in, bringing it back into the movement. The Pallof press with rotation is going to be our anterior oblique sling movement, so it's going to help to stabilize that front pelvic joint. It's going from the chest into the obliques, crossing the pubic symphysis into the inner thigh. So I'm going to exhale to push out, rotate away, coming back in, and then bringing the band to the center of my chest. And so these movements are great if you're working on trying to stabilize that front pubic symphysis joint, if they're working on diastasis healing, so we're looking for that diagonal activation across the center of the abdomen to help increase the density of that tissue. It can help post C-section to help you feel more reconnected and to bring more sensation across your incision site as well. The next move that we have is going to be the lateral step up with row. And so this is going to be my posterior oblique sling exercise, which is lat to opposite glute. So I want the band to be roughly in the same area, so chest to hip level, maybe a little bit towards the chest, just based on the elevation of the box. And so I'm going to put the opposite foot onto the box of the hand that is holding onto the band. So I want opposite sides working together. At the bottom, I'm going to think reach forward. So this is going to help me find internal rotation, which is going to allow me to have more range of motion of my hip. So knee is stacked over the ankle. I'm almost thinking putting more weight into my big toe side. I'm feeling a big stretch here in my hamstring and glute as I bring my belly to thigh. So the difference would be facing forward versus reaching forward. And then from here, I'm going to exhale to extend in the hip as I face forward and then rowing at the same time. So inhales to lower, find internal rotation, knees staying stacked over that ankle, putting weight into that big toe side, exhale to come up as I row. So this is a little hard to do super slow. So exhale, row, inhale to lower down. As I row, I want to think bringing the band towards the bottom of my rib cage, not to my shoulder. So I'm thinking squeeze elbow into my side body, inhale to reach. Exhale to row that band to the bottom of the rib cage is going to allow us to activate the lats a lot more. The lateral step up with band and row is going to be working that posterior oblique sling. So it's that lat to opposite glute working together, which is going to help to stabilize across the low back area into the SI joint. So if you're having pain towards the back side, these type of exercises could be super helpful. The last movement that we have in our circuit is the Copenhagen plank, which is going to help to strengthen the inner thighs, which can really help support pelvic stability. There's 3 different variations of this that we can do depending on how your inner thighs are feeling, how your pubic symphysis is feeling, and then also the equipment that you have available for you. So the first variation is going to be with the leg elevated. You can also do this with like your couch if you don't have something that has an opening on the bottom like a table. So I'm going to bring the top leg onto the bench. The higher it is up on my leg, the easier it's going to be. The lower it is on my leg, the harder it'll be because it increases the length of the lever. So I usually like to be somewhere around my knee. And then from here, I'm going to lift my hips up, and I'm thinking push my hips forward without rocking or like letting them kind of sag here. and then you can lift the bottom leg up. So I'm just gonna maintain this position for the duration of the time. If I need to, I can bring my bottom leg down to give me a little bit of support and maybe lift it back up as I need. If you're using like your couch, you're just gonna have this other leg come forward because you're not gonna have this like opening down here to put the leg. If you don't have the couch or you need an easier variation, we can come down to the floor. So my bottom leg is still gonna be my support leg, and this top leg is gonna come up. So you're gonna start in this kind of like 90-90 position. You're gonna push down through that bottom leg, and then you can lift the other leg up. So my top leg here, knee is gonna push into the floor to lift my hips, and then I can kind of hover this front leg, or I can leave it down. Bringing the leg down is just gonna add a little bit more support, but most of the emphasis is still on that inner thigh. If you're finding all of that to be too complicated or painful, we can take a ball, put it between the thighs, and we can do a sideline hip abduction with ball squeeze, which is gonna add in that inner thigh, but it won't be quite as intense. So we're in that same setup that we were for the floor Copenhagen. I'm gonna squeeze the ball and then extend my hips to come up. I'm finding full extension in both hips, so I'm not pushing my hips to the ceiling, I'm pushing my hips forward, really squeezing that ball, and then lowering back down. So this is gonna be working the outer glutes in addition to the inner thighs with this ball squeeze. You can choose whichever the variations feel best for you. So today's workout is gonna be 3 rounds, 30 seconds each, of the Pallof press with rotation, a lateral step up with banded row, and then Copenhagen plank, your choice of variation. Knowing the Copenhagen plank is probably gonna be the most challenging for 30 seconds, so if you need to take breaks throughout, feel free. So starting round number 1 with that Pallof press or with rotation, bringing the band to the center of the chest, we're gonna push the band out, feel like you're resisting a pull towards that point of attachment, and then rotate away. Coming back in, bringing the back in. If you want to, you can stagger the stance, which is gonna bring it a little bit more into this outside leg. I'm gonna push the band straight out, resist a pull towards that point of attachment, and then rotate away. Coming back in, so exhale, inhale back in. Exhale, inhale to come back in. So again, you should be feeling like you're resisting a pull towards that point of attachment. Let's switch directions. So you're just gonna face in that opposite direction now. If you wanna stagger the feet, you can, ensuring that that band is in the center of the chest. I'm gonna exhale to push straight out and then rotate away. Inhale to come back in. The straighter the arms are with this rotation, the more you're gonna feel it in the core as well. The more I kind of keep the band close to my chest as I rotate, the easier it's gonna be. So it's important that the arms are pretty straight as we rotate away in this movement. Coming to that lateral step up with banded row. So grabbing onto your band and the opposite hand of the foot that's on top of that box. Find that internal rotation, so load this leg, reach forward, exhale to come on up as you row that band back, inhale to reach. If you want to hold a weight when the free hand, feel free, it can either be down on your side. Usually I like to hold it up by my shoulder just because otherwise the weight kind of rubs against my leg. So inhale to lower down, think knee stacked over the ankle, exhale to come on up, inhale to lower belly to thigh, so find that internal rotation, load this hamstring and glute, exhale to come on up. And then go ahead and switching sides, so placing that band in the opposite hand, other foot is on the box. I like to find the bottom position first, so reaching forward, knee over ankle, exhale to come on up, inhale to lower down. And you may find that one side you have a lot harder balance than the other, and that's pretty normal. We're not symmetrical beings. We usually have like a strong side and a slightly less strong side or a stronger side. So inhale to lower, think knee staying stacked over that ankle. Exhale to row that band back as you extend in the hip. Pause at the top and then inhale to lower down. So moving on to that Copenhagen plank. So again, you can use the bench, you can use the floor, or you can do a ball squeeze. So placing that leg on your elevated surface, extend in the hip and then bring the opposite leg. So really thinking pushing the hips forward, finding that extension upwards too. So we're not just sagging here. If you need to, bring that bottom leg down for rest. So you don't have to just struggle through this. You can bring that bottom leg down to help you rest a little bit. Again, if you find this is too intense, come down to the floor, same movement, but it's just gonna be a little bit easier of a setup. And then switching sides. So flipping around to do the opposite leg here. I'm gonna push my hips forward, bringing my legs together, and then maintain this position. So I'm keeping that hip forward. I'm not letting it roll forward or backwards, keeping the hips fairly stacked with one another. And then I'm just gonna hold here. If needed, I can bring this leg down to give myself some rest, and then just come back into it. Doing either the bench variation with the floor or the ball squeeze, whichever works for you. Moving back to that Pallof press with rotation. So grabbing onto your band, you can stagger the stance if you'd like. Should already be feeling that rotation towards that point of attachment, pushing that band straight out, and then rotate away. So I'm bringing the back in. Switching sides, now you're gonna face in the opposite direction. Band should be pulling you towards that point of attachment. If not, we need to step further away. If you're doing it and you find that you can't, we need to move closer. So exhale to rotate, inhale back in. Feel that pull towards the point of attachment, and then rotate away. Inhale, back in. Exhale, push out. Rotate away. Inhale, back in. Moving on to that lateral step up with banded row. Again, if you want to hold a weight in the free hand, feel free. Opposite foot is going to step up onto that box, reaching forward. Exhale to come on up. If you want to add a balance at the top, it's going to make it a little bit more challenging balance-wise, but you don't have to. Inhale to reach forward, knee over ankle. Exhale to come on up. Inhale to reach. Exhale to come on up. Pause at the top, and then pause at the bottom to feel that internal rotation. So I'm loading this glute and hamstring, and then exhale, come on up. And then switching sides. So placing weight into that opposite foot, the band in the opposite hand. If you don't have a band set up, you can just do this without a band as well. You can just step up. Inhale to reach. Exhale to come on up. If you want to add balance, feel free. It just makes it a little bit harder. Inhale to come down, knee stays stacked over the ankle, load that glute and hamstring. Exhale, up. Inhale, back down. Moving on to that Copenhagen plank. So the bench, floor, or ball squeeze with the ball. Bringing the leg onto the bench. Again, the higher it is on the bench, the harder or the easier it's gonna be. The lower it is on your leg, the harder it'll be. So kind of find your level of height that works best for you. If you're doing your couch, just bringing the foot forward, you may need to come up a little bit higher on that leg, or you can do it down on the floor. So coming down to the floor, hip is here, pushing forward, and then lifting that bottom leg up. So choosing whichever variation works best for you. If you need a rest, bring that bottom leg down. Switching sides. So we're gonna face in the opposite direction now. Doing the same setup that you did for this leg. So bringing that top leg up, I'm gonna push my hips forward so they're stacked. Squeezing those legs together. And then if I need to rest, bringing that bottom leg down. So just breathe as is normal for you in this position, or best you can. We don't want to just hold the breath the whole time. And again, bring the leg down if you need to rest, or do different variations as needed. Keeping the hips stacked, keeping the hip extended. So sometimes there's a tendency to kind of drop in that hip. Coming into our final round, back to that Pallof press with rotation. So grabbing onto your band, bringing it to the center of your chest. Feet can be staggered. Exhale to push the band straight out. resist that pull towards that point of attachment, and then rotate away. Coming back in, exhale, push out, rotate away, inhale back in. Switching directions, now we're gonna face in the opposite direction, bringing that band to the center of your chest. So again, we're resisting a pull towards that point of attachment. Push out and then rotate away. So this movement is helping to stabilize across the front of the pelvis. It can help with diastasis healing because it's bringing this diagonal activation across the center of the abdomen. It can help with C-section reconnection, so it's a movement that we incorporate into our C-section recovery program. And then it can also help with front pelvic stability by ensuring that the pelvis closes on the front with movement. Moving on to that lateral step up with band and rope. So opposite foot is going to be stepping on to the box of the hand that is holding onto the band. So reaching forward, exhale, come on up, add balance if you'd like. Inhale to reach forward. Exhale, come on up. Inhale to reach forward. Find that internal rotation, so loading that glute and hamstring. Exhale, come on up. Inhale, back down. Switching sides, so placing that band in the opposite hand. Again, reaching forward, loading this leg that's on the box. Knee staying stacked over the ankle. Exhale, come on up. If you want to add balance, feel free. Inhale to lower back down. So this movement is helping to strengthen the posterior oblique sling, which is that lat to opposite glute, and this helps to stabilize across the low back and the SI joints. So one of the reasons for pelvic girdle pain is too much movement happening in the pelvic joint, which can happen from pelvic positioning. And in relation to the myofascial slings, it can help with muscle coordination. So coming to our Copenhagen plank, bringing the leg onto your elevated surface. We're doing it down from the floor. So bringing the legs together, coming up. If you need to rest, bring that bottom leg down or squeezing the legs together. If we're doing our couch, bring this foot forward. Keeping the hips stacked, pushing forward, so none of this like sagging stuff here. Switching sides now, so facing the opposite direction. Because pregnancy is such an externally rotated position, sometimes the inner thighs are not turning on quite as much. And so these type of exercises can help to ensure that we're pulling that pelvis into that internal rotation, which is a part of the hip range of motion. And so when we neglect internal rotation and we neglect adductor strengthening, we tend to have more issues with the pelvis with comfort. So the Copenhagen plank is one of my favorite exercises to help with pelvic girdle pain, but you have to find a movement that feels good for you. Thanks for joining us for workout number 12 of our 25-day workout series. Today's workout was a pelvic stability workout, which was coordinating different myofascial slings across the pelvic girdle to decrease movement happening at the pelvic joints during movement. One of the reasons for pelvic girdle pain is muscular coordination. So the muscles are not coordinating well with one another to decrease movement, to cause that forced closure at our pelvic joints. So it's almost like shearing that's happening, which can cause pain with movement. And so incorporating exercises like this can help to strengthen across the pelvic girdle joints to decrease that movement and to help stabilize them. These type of movements can also help with reconnection after birth, and they're great for both pregnancy and for the postpartum period. If you liked this workout, check out our pelvic stability workout program, which is an on-demand videos that's 3 weeks long with tons of different modifications. So when you move through the program, you can move through it multiple times, and each time will be different because there's an advancement to every movement that you can do. If you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe so that you get notified every time we post a new workout video. We post tons of demo and breakdown videos, and we hope that you'll continue to join us for the rest of this series.